All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's time for some, it's a PowerPoint stream. Oh, shit. Wait. I just realized. My stream open on multiple sources? So I'm hearing echo again. This always happens to me. Anyway, so yeah, we are going to be going through and making some PowerPoint slides. And I think, yeah, it's gonna be a good time. I've done streams like this before where I just go through and make things I just make slides. And the goal here is to have an active discussion with people in the chat so that we can to convince myself to provide detailed strategy advice for specific maps as needed. So yeah, let's get started. So this is literally a PowerPoint stream, by the way. I'm not playing the game, except to like maybe identify particularly interesting things, I guess. This will mostly actually just be like a talking stream where I'm going to be on making a PowerPoint slide, marking up maps. All right, everyone. So as you can see, this is literally Microsoft PowerPoint. This is it is as advertised. So yeah, we're going to be looking at every FE12 map, and this is going to be an iterative process. We're going to add a lot of we're going to look at every map. We're going to rate, review them, rant about them, and just discuss them overall. Yeah, and as you can see, we are actually still playing FE12, by the way. We are still in the Dark Sphere run. Let me make it a little larger. Actually, I could put that in front of me. That will be a nice consolidation of stream assets. There we go. Where's a spreadsheet? That can come later. Today's gonna be a PowerPoint stream, and for those of you that were here for the other PowerPoint streams, like around last year, I guess, we are going to be discussing things. So yeah, let's get started. First and foremost, those of you who have clicked on this video, please note that by doing so, you have signed a blood pact. Like and subscribe, by the way. I know the next challenge run, still haven't decided yet. Anyway, yeah, aside from the fact that you're now bound by a magical contract such that everybody in your country will die, that's basically an accurate depiction of FE12 is like. So yeah, just overall Lunatic Reverse, we're going to be discussing all of this in the context of Lunatic Reverse, which is possibly the second most difficult vanilla challenge. The first one obviously being Lunatic Plus, and the reason for these challenges is the high difficulty, aggressive enemy formations, and overall like the need for very high benchmarks to accomplish goals. In the prologue, non-deterministic enemy behavior is a pretty big problem. There's the ambush reinforcements too, but overall, one thing I found that was a struggle was actually just training units, finding the opportunities to train bad units, as in low-level units, to actually being useful was quite difficult. So yeah, we're going to be discussing all of this in the context of these rules, basically in the context of my challenge, and possibly like with or without Iron Man. I'm going to provide commentary on how things might be difficult in an Iron Man, i.e. risk of death, but I think for the most people's purposes, they will not be doing that because it's a bit crazy. I think it took me quite a lot of effort and knowledge and tries to get my run to complete. You think linked AI? That is definitely another factor. Linked AI, like, and other detailed shenanigans. Other map knowledge mostly. So we're going to be discussing this in the context of Lunatic or Lunatic Reverse. I think for the most part, Lunatic Reverse is a little harder, but I guess now that I think about it, it's actually a lot harder. There are a lot of things I had to do specifically because it was Lunatic Reverse, and I guess I'll discuss that in this context. What does linked AI mean? So linked AI is a enemy behavior pattern where enemies will not be baited on an individual basis, which makes it much harder to pull individual enemies, essentially. And the reason that makes things difficult is that in order to pull enemies, you have to be in range of at least 2 or 3 or more of them, depending on the group, to make them attack. And so this means that the typical Fire Emblem gameplay pattern of pulling one guy and then dogpiling him, killing him with the entire posse, is not viable. Are we going to mention the trade mechanic? Oh yeah, I think niche mechanics like that are rarely particularly impactful outside of scenarios like this. In a case like where that happened to be, you would just reset and you'd probably be fine. All right, let's get started. So for character creation, first we have the most pressing question, which is, do you pick a male Chris or a female Chris? And I think if you're playing Lunatic or Lunatic Reverse, the overwhelming decision should be to pick a male Chris. Just because the increase in class options is just so vastly superior to everything you would get as a female Chris. Plus, you do get to be a knight as a male class. Gender only matters or class option? Yes, the 3 genders. Female, male class set A, male class set B. No. But like I think Chris by default is class set A, right? It goes fighter, mercenary, basically all of the axe classes, and I think not general. So we have that. I think male Chris is by far the most useful option. My pick for my class was generally knight, mostly because I think it's mostly because I optimized my strategy around playing knight. And I think if you play well, you can probably make it through the prologue, almost guaranteed, as long as you hit a very small number of stat benchmarks in the early game. Armor Knight is B? Oh, then class, then I see. Then Chris's class set B, because you can always pick knight. So, actually, no. I think your class, it depends on which set you pick early on, now that I think about it. Because if you go knight, then you get class set B. If you go fighter, you get class set A. Female Chris is better specifically on new game without unlimited reclassing. I guess that kind of depends, right? Because I've never played without unlimited reclassing. Which class set is our Paladin and Wyvern in? Those are the same ones, right? Because you mostly use Chris as a knight in the prologue, but for most of the main game, you're going to be wanting to use Wyvern and Cav a lot. Is FE12 a player or enemy phase game on lower difficulties? I cannot comment on lower difficulties because I've never played. Paladin Draken is male A and female. Okay, that's interesting. Because in that case, if I were to go without that the bonus, then without the unlimited reclassing, then I think Cavalier might be a better pick just for Cav and flyer access. Because I think Cavalier is probably the second best option using my set of strategies, because as long as you get enough good level ups and you go like plus defense past, the main benchmark that Cav Chris has to survive is getting enough defense levels and maybe some HP, but his Cav Chris's speed is usually good enough. I think overall, thing is that every Fire Emblem 12 map has several phases. How do I describe this? I wish I made a slide about this in advance, and I think the game flow is pretty important to discuss, because I think there's like 2 or 3 phases to each Fire Emblem 12 map. Like there's the initial clash, where you fight some overwhelming amount of some powerful number of enemies, and then you have to fight reinforcements as well. Basically, the time-based reinforcements are part of this initial clash. So this part is highly like it's a mixed player phase, enemy phase action. And then the second part is when you're fighting like linked AI groups. So basically, after like the map has calmed down, you fight linked AI groups mostly, or it's like or zone or area based reinforcements. And for these areas, it's typically important to get an enemy phase set up, but most of your damage will be occurring on player phase. Will I go over useless units? I think units might be a different day if I want to discuss them, just because there's 70 of them. I do not think I can cover all 30 plus maps and also 70 units. There just won't be enough time. And then after that, it's like the cleanup. So pretty much most of the difficulty in the game is defined by these 2 phases. One, how do you survive entering the map? And then after you survive entering the map, you settle into some defensive position or some safe position. And then you start cleaning up groups of linked AI groups or area-based reinforcements. Like good examples of this are like, let's see, I have every map loaded in here. Like, for instance, a good example of this, let's say, is chapter 19, right? So the initial clash would be something like taking care of the boss. And then I need to find a better pen option here. So it'd be something like this. Like you go here, you would go to take out the boss, and then after this, the map calms down, and you take out this group, this group, this group, this group. Another example would be something like chapter 18, where the initial clash is you need to figure out on turn 1 how to deal with these guys. And then after that, you win the map, essentially. And then the next challenge is dealing with all the wyverns here, and then also the armors, while not getting killed. So, like, this is like step 1, and then the step 2 is typically solving the rest of the map. So in concept, that's how I envision a lot of FE12 maps. And I think it's a pretty cool dynamic that is not really replicated in a lot of FE games, because linked AI is such a big factor. Typically speaking, there's like a surprising amount of flow in each map. Crits are rather unproductive in Lunatic Reverse. I think, yeah, because Lunatic Reverse has such a high crit chance for player units, enemy phasing is inherently extremely risky. Like for a play, like I think it's mostly like a player phase game with some limited amount of baiting to survive linked AI groups. I think that's the best way to describe this, because like overall, like high player crit chance makes long enemy phases like nearly unsurvivable, just to be frank, because typically speaking, you'll die in 2 to 3 hits on most characters unless they have 30 defense in an early game map. And even then, even if you have very high defense in an early map, the chances that you just keep critting with your like 60% crits and then you have to fight 7 more people is way too high, and it just does kill you. All right. Next up, we can discuss origins, past, present, future. Let's past, present, and future. And I've marked these up. So basically, typically for the character creation, useful options tend to be stuff like let's highlight in yellow, I guess. Priest child is usually pretty good. I think let me use some arrows or something. I think priest child is usually one of the better options because in the prologue you really want a lot of defense. And the other stats aren't nearly as important for Chris. This is typically the best option because gives you the most defense right now. For knight, I prefer speed though. Actually, more specifically because knight really needs speed. Like general use is probably more on the lines of priest child for most other classes, I think. And most other classes usually have enough speed to not get doubled. But knight typically wants noble's child, I think, because you need 3 speed to survive the early game. And if you don't, you need like 4 or 5 speed to survive the mid game prologue. When you use Cav, Chris, use priest child. Yeah, I think it depends a lot on the class because I think if you go Cav, then you have enough speed to survive anyway. I think honestly, going Cav Chris is not that bad. The main issue is just that it modifies some of the strategies, and you can't do like the easy skip the game strats later. But yeah, the origins, the other origins are a bit more debatable, I guess. I think for instance, if you want to go knight, if you don't take noble child, like one possibility is to go like knight, noble's child, and then you go, I think, probably kindness for the extra defense. That's one route. You go knight to kindness for defense, and then finally, I think in many of my cases, I chose enlighten for the extra HP. Yeah, these arrows suck. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I think something like this, like knight, noble child, kindness, and then enlighten is my typical play. Green to blue is okay. Yeah, I think this works. And I think I use different arrows for different options. Another option is probably priest child into like you go if you take defense, then typically for your other stat you probably want some speed. Yeah. I wish PowerPoint were easier to draw in. So, and then Recluse is typically like it's either honestly, I think it's a toss up between Enlighten and Recluse. The main question is, do you want to use energy drops on Chris? Because if you don't take any plus strength, you're not going to capture strength very easily. So I think these we can make into a different color. Maybe yellow. It's like I think priest beauty into probably enlightened or recluse is also another option. Honestly, I think typically speaking, enlightened or recluse is probably are among the better picks for your final stat line. I think like it could really be either. Because generally speaking, moving into the late game, speed tends to cap pretty easily for Chris. The thing about strength, the strength caps are pretty low. That is true. Strength and speed caps are both pretty low. But I think the most defense is probably the most important stat for Chris, just because that's one of the few. Chris is one of the few units that can have very good defense in the early game. Speed caps are important, yes, and actually it is quite difficult to reach speed caps for some of the faster classes. Like Swordmaster and more, like Swordmaster doesn't need very high speed, but classes like Horseman and Sniper need a lot of excess speed that is hard to get in most other cases. So it's kind of like it's kind of a toss-up, honestly. I think overall the most important stats in the game, at least in my case, defense is very important, at least for Chris, just because Chris is the earliest possible tanky unit. You enter if you play properly, or you play not properly, but if you do things if you do things correct, you can easily leave the prologue with like a level 15 Chris. Other characters that can train the prologue, like Luke and others, just don't become nearly as good. And Luke is fine, honestly. He caps strength and speed very easily, but his defense is most defense in most units, aside from characters like Chris, tends to be pretty bad. Is typo under present defense? Yeah. It should be defense +1 there. Yeah, I copied things incorrectly there. So it's kind of hard to say, really, because, like, I think if you're... I think there's also a case for maybe going strength, actually, as your second option. But I think if you're going for max HP, like in the prologue, I think defense is overwhelmingly more important. HP is more important for like the longer term, but even then, you have enough Seraph Robes. Typically, Seraph Robes actually are in very high demand if you're using characters like Palo or Katria. Most units don't cap their HP, but you don't really need it, typically speaking. But yeah, defense is super important. I think defense is overall the most important stat. The thing is, like, you do kind of you are kind of, your success in your speed is also ultimately kind of dependent on chance. Like, in your defense, rather. Because defense is not very high growing for most units, aside from generals. And as a general and knight, it caps very quickly. So then after that, you have to get the rest of your defense levels in lower defense classes, which maybe only has like 45, 35 growth. So I think, typically speaking, like, this might be like my typical option here. Like, a general use case would be priest into priest child into, I think, maybe like diversity, or maybe like kindness or strength. Yeah, I think if you go priest child, then you can't get kindness. So I mean, some speed is nice, HP is nice too, but I think you can really, there's not too many wrong choices. Is there a niche for honorable to hit speed benchmarks? I think it's risky because Chris's speed is not great, And ultimately speaking, if you go for honorable, you are risking a lot to get to gamble a bit more, right? If you I pick +2 speed, yeah, that's typically what I do. My routing is like this. I go Noble's Child, Kindness, and I think I went into Enlightened. That was my route for my playthrough. You talk about reclassing with low defense and high speed in generals to get defense. That is something I have tried, but in practice, it's quite a lot more difficult to execute than you would imagine. Because typically speaking, generals are not a very good class for accomplishing objectives. They're useful for sitting there and not dying, and that can be useful in some early maps. But a lot of early FE12 maps require you to be very mobile. And if you're very mobile, then you have to move, then you can't do anything if you're a general. Like, you think a noble shout and a kindness is basically required to beat prologue consistently? Yeah, I think that's my opinion too for knight. The other options could be like priest child into beauty or priest child into strength, I guess, for other classes like cav. But I think even as a cav, you want the early speed growth. Did the challenge run change how you feel about FE12's gameplay? I think I learned a lot about the game. And I think it's like, and I come to appreciate the difficulty a lot more. And it feels like the game is eminently like balanced on a knife's edge for the early, like mid, end game. Can Horseman fix speed? Horseman does not fix speed. Horseman has low speed base but high speed cap. If you want to fix speed, you go sniper. But even then, it doesn't really fix it because you still need to get that more speed growth. And typically speaking, the only way to actually get it, like if you're thinking about a low speed unit, I think of Palo, who has 30% speed growth basically throughout every class. Like a fast unit would be like Sita, who has 90% speed growth. So I think the difference between, like, there's like 2 or 3 kinds of units, I think. So I think like unit archetypes, I think that's also another important bit that needs to be discussed here before we really get into it. There's like units that like, there's lots of like high strength, low speed units. And this is kind of like Pala. Pala has very hard time growing speed. There's high speed, low strength units like Sita. And then there's just units that, and there's a very limited number of high speed and high strength units. Characters like Katria easily cap strength and speed. Est easily cap strength and speed. Characters like Luke, I guess. I think Roger actually caps those caps pretty easily. Like Belf, Raiden. I think Belf and Raiden might be like more yeah. So basically there's some units like that can reach these caps. Fourth category of units that suck. Yeah, there are some units that do just suck. And then I think Barst is another good one. For most units, you need high strength and speed, almost certainly. But like, I think the most important bit is actually not any of these, but the most important one, which is can reach defense cap. And I think that's basically just Chris and maybe Katria, Pala if they get lucky. I really can't think of any other units that really easily reach 30 defense as a mobile class. I think I'm gonna be talking like specifically for stat growth. Basically, like if I'm trying to imagine if you use this unit, can they reach their full offensive potential? Got a 28 defense Luke in your first run. Oh, that's very nice then. Because yeah, most mages can reach defense cap pretty easily. I don't really think so, but okay. Like I'm not here to rate all the units, but basically what I'm saying is this is not exhaustive. Like units that suck like Cord and Board, they just like they just don't cap strength or speed. They just don't. They just don't even reach their caps at all, even if you try so hard. Like I think actually now that I think about it, Cord is more like a high speed low strength unit. I think Board is more high strength low speed. The only reason Board kind of sucked in my run is because I tried to make him into a mage. But they still do suck. Right? But basically, like, typically units, most of the other growths of a unit don't matter. Frankly speaking. Like, their skill, their luck, their defense, in 99% of cases, it doesn't matter. Because this game is so player phase focused that you usually have enough HP and defense to survive one hit, but not much more. Luck does matter, but only up to a point. It's kind of hard to rate it. It's more that like units that can't get luck, just you shouldn't use them in an Iron Man context because not 20 like 8% chance of dying instantly, no go. Bantu can break past his caps. Yeah, he technically can. So can Tiki though. I think Marth Marth is like you just gotta use him. You gotta use him, but he's like he's an XP sponge that accomplishes nothing most of the time. That's to be frank. He can do some things, but it's never typically enough to actually be useful for anything. What about the dragons? I think the dragons are all really good, but they are different kinds of units. Like I mean, there's different units. Like Zane is like useful and not useful in some scenarios. Like the Tiki Nagi are very useful in the end game, but it takes a lot of effort or stat boosters or both to make them useful. And you only need them if you actually want to slug it out in the end game. I mean, and there is the dancer, of course. Fina, of course. Are you sure Katria and Pala can hit 30 defense in Draco Knight? I think Katria hit 30 defense in my run. That's because I growth dropped her. I think I did growth drop her. I think I might have also used Draco shields. But I think you can also probably force the matter with Draco shields. And I think it's in your interest. I think it's in your interest to I think it's very in your interest to use your Draco shields to try to reach the 30 defense on at least one unit, because 30 defense is actually a pretty important benchmark for just not dying, surprisingly, in the late game. I think it's worth it. Just dump every stat booster possible. There's like 9 of each stat booster. Yeah, it's very hard to actually get all the stat boosters in Lunatic Reverse unless you arena grind. But I think arena grinding is like my best option is Zane cloning on a Draco Knight with cap stats for the most part. Typically speaking, like even if you don't You might not necessarily need all of the stat boosters in the secret shop, but buying them is very useful, and it's something that's worth doing if you can do it. If you can't, oh well. It's kind of hard to discuss it because I always arena grind here for the extra bonuses. I'm curious to see how the game would change if I were to not do that, and I think it probably wouldn't change too much because while especially if I were not doing an Iron Man, I think I could cut down on some of my certainties and just try to coin flip some things. For instance, I don't need the triangle attack explicitly to kill Medius, for instance. I could just try to rig a falchion crit, for instance. If I really wanted to do it and I wanted to force the matter, I could do that. And that would be one way to win, but not really reliably. If you want to guarantee it, you're really going to want something like triangle attack or having enough people move in or some crit or some other thing. It's very hard to kill Medius consistently without just fully like kitting yourself out with triangle attack gear, which takes like too much gold to really do viably normally, I think. All right. So, let's start by discussing the prologue. Most people would use the save point. Yeah, I think for that and for like Harden and other enemies, you would definitely use the save point to just get a crit. Like, I think the absolute minimum viable kill would be Marth crit into Marth a new recover into another crit. Or just a dance. Like, I think that's something you could just do. And you wouldn't be too much worse for wear for it. Training Sirius, Minerva, and Merrick? Yeah, I think that could be an option. Especially in the late game, there's plentiful XP. So training Sirius and Minerva to treat like level 20 cap is not too unreasonable. And also not too expensive either. Like, for instance, one good opportunity I can smell is actually a place like like chapter 22 or chapter or 20, right? Like, unironically, just training against all of the Cavalier reinforcements or fighting all the dragons by hiding in the room could be a way to train your units. Even then, Sirius and Minerva and Julian and Merrick, like Merrick is good enough to just use, I think, as a mage. Julian is a little useless in most other scenarios, but Sirius and Minerva can put in a decent amount of work if you keep them up to date with stat boosters. But they do need stat boosters to actually achieve like survivability benchmarks to actually keep being used. What if you only use 2 and then talk and kill 2? That is also an option. You should have enough units just suicide into killing the clerics. If you can move into position, any unit can just kill 2 because the clerics always move first. If you just toss a guy, let me get a sprite. I had these prepared. Like, if you just toss like Catria or Sita or even like Est, like if you just take if you just take Est as like plopper right here, what's gonna happen is like these guys, the clerics always move first, so they attack here and then they both die. So you can, if you go early, you can just move. I think if you really need to, like 1, 2, 3, like you can probably just like move up here anew and then suicide bomb, and suicide bomb the mages with any particular high movement unit. That's like something you can just do. So it's something you would do on turn 1 and then set up for a turn 2 kill, I think. You would under the impression that the cleric moves first. The clerics always move first, even if the enemies will smell a kill. And I think that's something like that I've done. Like I just moved Est up here, and then in some of my practice runs, these guys both attack, and then Est is dog powered by the Earth Dragons. All right. Okay, now that we've kind of discussed overall the typical character archetypes and who you want to train, and like what you want Chris to do and how you want to do things, I think that's like a pretty good summary of the game flow of FE12. Any questions before we move on to the actual maps? To do Lunatic Reverse Iron Man with all 4 clerics recruited and live. Also, every all characters alive, all characters recruited. Every Gaiden chapter with all loot gotten and nothing sold. Yeah, no, that's not. I'm not doing that. All right, let me crack open an energy drink. Hard for AAA Iron Man when? I think I would die. This is how you would describe units in this game. Recommended for early for steel bow. I think I will discuss those later, but I think I would actually prefer to forge an iron bow over a steel bow, because for early game, but this is like a bit later, and I'll bring it up again later. But I think iron bow forge is superior because the best way to trade in early game units is actually as an archer. Because most of the XP in the early game that is easily accessible to most units is the wyverns. And you can one-shot the wyverns with a big iron bow with no other investment. And that's just a way to get like 70, 80 XP a pop, which is much easier to allocate than any of the other kills, who are probably going to be hogged by high defense units like like Chris, just because it's easier to do it like that. We mentioned the 2% rule, or is it not relevant for Iron Man context? I think I very rarely use the 2% crit baiting rule because it was, for one, in an Iron Man context, I strive to minimize any risk of death ever. And I think it's just not really worth doing because typically speaking, I was usually able to do a completely safe lure with a strong enough defensive unit, either by being 1 strong enough or 2 diverting enemies into different directions with flying high mobility units. I did that a lot on chapter 12. Like for chapter 12, like in order to avoid fighting multiple enemies, I did in fact do things like that. Like I would have like a flyer here and then a Draco Knight here. Like I would bait individually. And that's something that is my doing, right? Like I would do it like that. I would have a guy here to make half of the guys go there, and the other half to go here. There's a lot of stuff you can do to make that work, and you don't need to rely on enemy priority in internal priority. I think it ended up mattering a bunch for some maps, like the final map, where I was just hoping that these guys wouldn't kill my important units. But it's not something you can really actively plan for in a outside of controlled context. I think it's relevant for maps where you can recruit characters who have low luck. You can recruit Ashram and make the Storm Bishop split up because they kill him on a crit. Yeah, I mean, in terms of using sacrificial units, I think you can just do it safely, and you don't need to do anything fancy. You just toss the guy into the meat grinder. You mean the Draco Knights? Yeah, the Wyvern Knights. All right. I think we've discussed most of the general gameplay concepts. Let's talk about the game. So, chapter 1 prologue. So this one should be pretty quick. The main thing to note is that if you don't have a good Corrin build, you just die. Like a bad Chris build. There's not really anything fancy to discuss here. You just attack a guy, then you attack the other guy. One particular issue I think that is pretty funny is that archers specifically have a really tough time on this map because you don't have enough move to hit this guy before he can hit you. So you actually get one less player phase than you normally would. So being an archer is particularly troublesome on this map. Did I do this for 0 strength, 0 magic? No, because it would be exhausting. Here, the maps are a lot smaller. Also, FE Fire Emblem Fates doesn't have very good maps that are easily showable. FE12 has it because people can just screenshot them, and the wiki team is great for this. Is there rigged RNG on all difficulties? I'm pretty sure RNG is rigged here. I think there might be like rigged Jagan RNG. Jagan has never once ever crit me. And I've played this map at least 56 times. So you can't crit Jagan? Okay, so if you can't crit Jagan, and Jagan can't crit you, thank you for confirming, aggro. Then you can't get lucky. you can get a lucky dodge, I guess. You can't dodge Jagan. That's happened a bunch of times. And I think there's some other cases that have also never happened to me. Like stuff like I've never once missed against Sita in Prologue 3. Like I've never missed the archer attack against Sita. And that might just be me being lucky, but who knows? All right, let's delete the shit. Let's delete the slides that aren't used. Okay. Ryan can't miss Sita in P3. Oh, actually? Is it actually rigged? Oh, it's actually been rigged on that. That's really funny. All right, so typically the option next up. Actually, I can probably. Next up is Prologue 2. So in Prologue 2, typically speaking, what you're gonna want to do is you just put Ryan on the fort, and then Chris just goes anywhere. And then after Luke moves in, you just kind of attack him. This one's pretty straightforward. I don't think anyone has really had difficulty with this. And then next, I think if you have a high enough defense unit, you can also move Chris all the way over here. I mean, move Chris over here to bait this guy. This is the most important trick I've learned, is just to have you moved all the way to the upper left after you heal, so that and then Ryan goes over here so Chris can hog the XP if needed. Let me actually figure out like a more. No, I need to have a numbering system, because I think this is generally how I'm going to do things. I'm going to be using arrows and then numbering things. Does that sound like a good idea? Like, my goal here is to try to make something that is like useful to people at a glance, and also maybe use this for like a video. Maybe these should be a different color. Maybe like Century Gothic. Maybe RuneScape font? 07scape. I do use the RuneScape font quite a bit. RuneScape chat. Yeah, let's use the RuneScape font bold. Let's make it yellow. I think that's very visible. There's 1, 2, 3. Unfortunately, PowerPoint kind of sucks for image editing. I would like this would have been nice to just do in Photoshop, but unfortunately, this is not Premiere Premiere image editing software. I think yellow is actually probably the most visible color here. And copy paste the 1, 2, and 3. They work in chat and PowerPoint. Yeah, give me a second. Let me open up my stream. I could do that. Oh yeah, that does work. Perfect. Thank you very much. I think that's visible enough. All right, now we start talking about the actual hard parts of the map. And we might need to make multiple slides to depict, fully accurately depict what the situation ends up looking like. There we go. Okay, prologue 3. This is the hard one. This is the hard one. And for this map, there's a couple of schools of thought, actually. Box in the corner. I think box in the corner strat is useful if you are a knight. But I think there are some other options that could be useful. Mostly because there's like a very specific line of enemy aggression where you can specifically fight just 2 guys. So I think it's like something the border is like something like this for this guy, and Sita's range is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, something like this. Like the actual like distance you have to walk around in is quite small. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's like something like this. Yes. That is the amount of space you have to work with without triggering this guy or this guy. Is that a highlighter? So like something like this area is just no go. Point eraser. Okay. So you have like limited amount of space to work with. You move 8 and then attack on the 9th square. Oh yeah, I think it's actually you only have this tile. Yeah, wait. It's like this, right? It's actually something like that, huh? Let me open up the game. Oh, I already had it open. That's why I had the audio playing in the background. So you really don't have much space to work with. Like these are the only tiles that you can really work with safely. This tile maybe if you want to do things properly. Then we have a chapter 3 backup. I could actually just play the game really fast. That might work. So, typically speaking... Oh. There are a couple of ways to do things. And one is to just go into a complete square formation. And that's useful if you have a knight. So, let's say you have a knight. You can put a knight here, and then you put Roderick and Luke. And then you can put Roderick and Luke on these tiles. Let's cover up this guy. If only I could... So like, here's one way to deal with the map. So here's formation 1. I think this often requires, but typically, let's say what happens is you have Roderick here with the lance, and then Luke with the sword. You typically have to swap weapons to survive. You can also do this probably with another class like Cavalier. And that might also work. Another option I think that you can do is another formation. You can go do something like this. You can take an archer. You can take the archer and put him here. You can do something like this. So for the first format, typically what will happen is, let's say this guy is like the lance guy and this is the sword guy. Typically speaking, the sword guy will attack the sword, and the X guy will attack the lance, and then this guy will attack Chris. Typically needs a lance sword swap plus vulneraries to survive. So then the play after this would be to after turn 1 you do that, and then turn 2 you trade over here to get the sword. To get the sword, because if you don't do that, then typically speaking you can just die. The lance guy can get hit twice and then you just die. And that's usually the case for Roderick, who starts with a lance. Like, I think he takes like 15 damage, and then goes down to 5, and then he needs the extra weapon triangle advantage to not die. Yeah, you can either go square or you can go T. And for this, this guy doesn't move. And I think typically what happens is this guy attacks Roderick, and then this guy will attack the a bottom unit. I can test if this works. Yeah, why not? Let's boot up the game. So let's try a different class this time, just to demonstrate. So we can try Cav this time. So Cav Priest and into let's delete this. I think we go with that, and then female Chris. We could actually, if you guys want. So I think we go priest into maybe strength. I think we go beauty, and then we could go beauty and then enlightened. Or I think kindness might be good. No, we already have 1+ defense. No, we don't really need HP, I guess. So beauty into, let's say, enlightened. We don't need the epilogue save, right? Up to which map is the loss of a non-Chris unit fatal? Very rarely. Typically speaking, I think you can usually make it through, even if you lose a lot of your good characters. Oh, I still have all the Excelblem logos over here. So I think, yeah, we can do it like this. Yeah, we're probably not getting to every chapter today. Usually plus strength might be good too early. But you don't really need Chris to actually meet many killing thresholds. Let's fast forward this to make so we can test and get the footage. Yeah, it's a kill. Nice speed and defense. So then for prologue 2, you just do something like this. You hit from the fort to reduce damage taken. Some Chris's just can't actually do this map properly, unfortunately. Mostly if they have too little defense and they can't actually safely attack Luke. This is another checkpoint, I guess, that could just get you. Even the Flying Sisters, I think you don't actually need that many good units in the end game, because you can replace the rows with bait characters to bait enemy attacks, or we can use characters like Nagi and Tiki to really just fill space. All right. So this is prologue 3. So let me demonstrate the T formation. So the T formation, typically, I think you go over here with Chris, the stronger unit. You put the weaker Lance unit up here, and then you put Luke down here. This way, the fighter attacks Luke, and this guy attacks here. Because I think, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that's usually how it goes. I might be wrong. Because I think the sword guy is blocked from moving to the top because of the forest. That way, you don't get doubled. So something like this is the other way to do things. So here's like formation 2. Yeah, the Merc can't reach because the Merc can't double here because of the forest penalty. That's why it works. But it's very important that you do this, I think, in a way that the X guy goes first. So the X guy has to move first, and that's typically what happens. And I think you, here, you can actually just heal. And then I think the way to do things is you can, kill this guy and then heal. You just kill one of them. And if the top guy doesn't survive, you can probably trade the sword onto Roderick. You have to be wary about vulnerable uses? Yeah, that is true. So I think, and then the play here would be to attack, to double up on this guy, and then use a vulnerary here. Let me get a vulnerary sprite from somewhere. Let me upscale that. Looks ugly. Have I made a joke about the invisible forest in any of my videos? I don't think I have, but are you talking about the ones in the other prologue maps where it looks like there's a forest, but they're just outside of the map, just barely? Wait, is there an invisible forest tile anywhere? If there is one, I definitely must have missed it. I really actually legitimately do not know what you're talking about here, so... Please enlighten me with your divine knowledge. All right, okay, we have the big vulnerary. Oop. They fucked with the map drawing it, and so there's mislabeled tiles. Yeah, it's not on this map. I know there is one somewhere. And then after this, the map is pretty much solved. I think the other demonstration we can do, possibly, is for the other... I think the T-block formation might work for this Chris, too. Because I think this Chris is bulky enough. So, like, we let's reboot the map and get the other method up. So the method I think here would be Chris. This Chris has 10 defense. Damn. Okay. So Chris does survive 2 hits. But Chris, you can go here, here, and here. And then this is what it will look like. Oh, interesting. I haven't seen this happen before. I have not ever seen something like this happen before. It must... Why is that? Is it because the hit rate is not good enough? Oh, they have crit chance on Chris. What the fuck? Oh, huh. I think this happened specifically because it only had 3 luck. If I had 1 more luck, they would have gone for Luke. Not enough luck procs? Oh yeah, the fact that luck can like screw things up here is also really funny. But I think this is still doable because you just survived the 2 hits anyway. Right? This doesn't actually change anything because you can't attack anyway. You gotta miss and now I'm just fucked, right? I think this is fine. There's also enemy skill. Okay, so it just goes all over the place, huh? I think this is still a win, though, somehow. Is it? Can we win, though? I think you might lose the cav. That's honestly fine. I don't think I have enough vulneraries, though, for this. Maybe I just trade a Vone here and I heal. Move down 1, and then we kill this guy. We trade... I messed up. Oops. Yeah, I think if I traded there and I healed, I wouldn't be able to kill this guy, and that would have just been fine. But, dead unit. Okay. The best variant for Cavkers is +2 speed, +1 strength. Oh, interesting. Luke missed a hit? Yeah. That was disaster. I think... Huh. Usually... The fact that they move differently because of the speed and luck procs is so funny. But I can't do anything about it, so oh well. So I think I would do something like this. Trade over here. We'll just throw an attack out, and then that's fine. Okay, now they swap back. Because of the luck proc. This shit is chaotic, man. But this is actually completely fine, because, no, it's not, actually. They swapped the damage. And now things are all fucked. What the fuck do I do here? Yeah, this is like... This is an emergency situation I haven't thought of before. Oh, wow, Chris's doubles here. Okay. So I still win this, I think? No, I lose this. Well, I could block here. If I trade the sword... No, Roderick still dies. Yeah, I think the T block formation is better for Cav Chris. Alright. You usually use Formation 1 for Knight Chris, and Formation 2 is for, like, Cav Chris. Or other classes. Like, there's some other formations you can do if you're trying to bait things, but I won't get into those. And there's more. I think there's one other formation that also sometimes works if you are using a for instance, like an archer Chris, but this one's risky. Like it's like a 50-50 risk one. The idea is actually a little bit tricky. And what you would do is, let's say you have like an archer Chris. What you would do is you would move it so that you have Gordon here. You go like this. In the hopes that that a guy would move and attack like this. And the reason this is useful is that then on the next turn, you can then attack from multiple directions and kill this guy while protecting a wounded guy. All right. So that's pretty much it for Prologue 3. I mean, there's multiple other variations. There's so many variations for every particular class setup. It might be interesting just to like make a video just going through all of them, or just try testing more of them later. We're doing a victory? Yeah, we did win. I'm just looking at maps and trying to make strategy notes for the benefit of other people. I might release these slides at some point. All right. So let me just finish playing through this so we can get our footage. So yeah, I think we usually for Cav we should go T block. I mean, yeah. I think we go I think it's like Roderick, Luke down here, Roderick up here. We let them attack like that. Then we kill this one. I think, oh yeah, this time the soldier high rolled strength, so we need to trade over the sword. It's a little trickier to trade in this formation though. So I think we do it like this. We trade over the lance here with Ryan, and we attack this over here. Then we trade it with Luke. And then Roderick finally trades over the vulnerary and the sword and then heals. This gives him enough HP, just barely to survive the attack from the lance guy, from the axe guy. And then you just win. Oh, that's pretty close, actually. Then you can kill this guy and then kill the next guy. One fun thing that someone commented earlier is that Ryan cannot miss on this map, so that's something that's nice. Yeah, I did beat the game today. This is a victory lap when we are just making a guide, I guess, on stream. Oh shit, I messed up. That's fucked up. Yeah, I messed up. Oops. I think we're using a lot of vulneraries here, but it's probably survivable. I think we hide Luke in here, and then Ryan can take a hit. All right. I don't think this really impacts things later, so I'm just willing to just roll with it. So, what other thing that someone suggested was plus speed Cav, and I think that might work too, just so you can double enemies. But I think moving, for my case, is more. I think it's more useful to go plus defense. mainly because it does offer the best long-term potential. It also doesn't require stat benchmarks because you do need more speed to double things later. So I think the play here is just to bait Sita, shoot her, and then defeat her. Apparently Ryan is rigged to never miss here, which is useful. Nice speed. You typically press yes here. Okay, so for this is the Athena map. And typically speaking, for the Athena map, you're gonna want to. That's the hard mode. This is the lunatic mode. Okay. So for the Athena map, typically speaking, the most important things to worry about are this archer, and then whoever is holed up over here. So that basically means that you can only put one, like, you have to put Ryan over here, and then everyone else needs to hole up in this area. And basically nothing else works, I think. A typical formation would have you looking something like this. And then maybe having Chris block over here. The main issue that you would run into is where you put wrist. Do you put wrist on near Ryan or wrist near Chris? And I think putting it depends on where your vulneraries are, really. And I think it should be okay. You do something like this. Is there a specific diagonal choke strat? If there is one, I really don't know how it works. Like, you would do something like this. You would do something like this. And then you would have a vulnerary, possibly. Make sure that Ryan has a vulnerary. Because you either have vulneraries on Ryan, Chris. Riss can only comfortably cover one of them. There is a ultra-specific diagonal choke strat that's compatible with lower bulk Chris. Strictly speaking, you don't need a Chris for this map either. You then just keep healing here. Yeah, so I have the PowerPoint updated here. And then I think you just spam vulneraries on Ryan until you kill the archer. It takes 3 and there's a chance of dying, but you just do what you can, I guess. You make a triangle side. Is this some kind of triangle strategy you're speaking of? And usually, like, if you can't safely survive damage, the way you would need to do things is you would need to wait until Ryan kills this guy and then try to get the last hit with Ryan while healing with Chris. Or you can shuffle in Sita. You can usually shuffle in Sita if you unequip her. The big risk here is killing too many enemies and then dying. So after this, you would just go over here, and then after the situation stabilizes, it gets pretty simple. And I think that's usually how it would go. Maybe I need to put a background on these text boxes, actually. It's a little hard to see. Okay, let's do that, and let's make a gradient. No. A texture. No. I need to make this a little transparent, right? The issue is if I just do like a normal black issue, it's gonna look really crappy. So I should add some transparency. There we go, like 50% transparency. Look, that looks reasonably okay. Maybe just go white text if we're gonna go for a black background like that. That's fine. Looks more professional. This is the least professional thing I could be doing anyway. It's a gamer PowerPoint. What do you want? Yeah, just going in and backfilling all of this. Honestly, I feel like we could only discuss the entire prologue today. I feel like just at the pace we're going, it's gonna take a long ass time to compile all the knowledge I want for some of the maps. And making PowerPoints is slow business, unfortunately. Which is part of why I kind of wanted to do it on stream, just to chill a little. I've had enough high-paced action the past few weeks that I kind of want to just take a little break, do something relaxing, make a slide deck. And I also hope that this is gonna just be useful for people. Yeah, the prologue is the biggest roadblock, so if I can discuss enough variations and have just material for people to use, then I think that's just useful. The accessibility of the mode is dependent a lot on if people can get to the prologue. Yeah, so I think that's about it. I've never once played the... I don't like playing the George variation. This one's tougher. The thing is that this variation is both tougher, like is tougher and gives a worse unit. Would not recommend. And I have not actually made a strat for this map. Athena is just very good because Athena is guaranteed to one round Katarina, which is very important for the late game. Three calves and equip all and put them in a diagonal. Hmm. Oh yeah, I think if you do it like that, things could work out for you on this map. You go like here, 1, 2, 3. If the enemies line up correctly, you should be okay. But it seems complicated. George is kind of easy because you can encircle him and he won't attack. Do we need to keep a track of what units are important to keep alive until a certain point? I can make a different note of that in a different slide. The issue is that the issue I think for the George variation is that 2 archers is hard to deal with unless maybe you have 2 archers of your own. And you just need to do a lot more healing and babying for Ryan and making sure these guys don't kill you. So I don't like doing it. Yeah, you definitely you need Ryan for this map. Yeah. But typically speaking, you want to get through most of the I think yeah, here like we can also just make a slide for acceptable casualties. Like technically speaking, I think Luke and Roderick are acceptable casualties. Because you really don't need them specifically for anything in the future. Anything that Luke and Roderick could do in Prologue 3, and it makes later prologues a little tougher, like Prologue 5, but you don't need them. You can beat the prologue without Luke and Roderick. You can't beat this very easily without Ryan. All right, so that's number 4. Let's go and finish up the demo, and then we can. You can feed extra XP to Ryan if you really want to, but I don't really think is that useful. So I think here the play would be to. These guys do quite a bit of damage here, so I think I just heal with a vulnerary, and then I have Ryan to kill to save my HP. It's a balancing act here because you don't want to get caught unawares. I think I have like no bones left though, which is a big problem. We heal here, and unfortunately, yeah, we just start picking these guys off. I think I might have messed up and died. I did. No, I didn't. Okay. I got another speed level up. We're good then. If in emergency situations, you can use Sita to block. Because Sita can survive most combat here. So let me... let me take another screenshot. Just to note that. So Sita can just survive being hit here. She's fast enough to not get doubled, and if you unequip her lance, but she does double some of these guys. So if you have her fight too often, like the soldiers, then she does get herself killed. Nice. That's a bunch of speed. I don't normally get that much. All right. That's prologue 4. So this one was tough. Chapter 5 is tough. So I think what you want to do usually is my preferred formation. Oh, this actually, I don't think my strat works here because this Chris isn't bulky enough. Maybe if we put the sword on Chris, that could work. Yeah, Prologue 5 is the messiest map. My strat is usually to use a knight because then you can safely block the fort here. This map is Hunter loves to attack Riss. Yeah, the Riss bait on the Hunter is very valuable. Ryan can has issues surviving the Hunter unless he gets defense or HP or speed. But you need to get a decent level up, basically. So I think Chris... Let me see if this works. Let's see if my usual strat works. Because I think they always go for Sita first. And then Chris only gets hit once. So something like this usually works. And then you usually have enough firepower to just kill everything. I think I missed twice. Oh, I didn't have a weapon equipped. That's fucked up. Yeah, I need to redo that one just because it didn't have a damn weapon equipped. I can also take Athena's sword, I guess. We didn't have my Iron Lance equipped, so it didn't do any damage. And we can trade the sword over here for the lance. What's going on now? I'm mapping out strats, and I'm doing a PowerPoint. As you can see, I'm actually making a PowerPoint slide with detailed map information for all these things. So I'm just kind of looking at the possibilities here. Good luck. Yeah, I think we should have a good time. So this guy goes for Chris, this guy goes for Sita, and Sita doubles. And this guy goes for Chris and gets a miss. Very lucky. Yeah, so something like this should work. So something like this. Check Chris is right. There's an invisible forest. Whoa. Oh, that's why. That says forest. That's invisible forest. What the fuck? Oh, that's why this barbarian can't move into the upper right. I never realized that. That's so funny. Okay, so let's just overlap this. We can overlay this, right? Let's crop this thing. Riss is getting half his head cut off. So you go. It looks like something like this, right? So I think the typical play is for Chris to go on the fort. We go Sita over here, and then everyone else goes away. Like my method is to have my method is we have Chris a tank on the fort, Sita 2 tiles behind to bait Axe Fighter, to bait Barbarian. Takes Barbarian plus Archer hit. Retaliates. And the reason we do this is to split up the damage. Retaliate. Splits up damage. Uses Sita's HP when she normally can't fight in future turns anyway because of Archer presence. This is mostly the case for Lunatic Reverse, I think, where it's important. Because, in Lunatic Reverse, more specifically, you have to manage your HP a lot because you can't attack normally without using HP. So if you can't, so that's why you have to be very careful with managing your HP here. So it should look something like this. Barbarian moves over and attacks here. And then you can just pile on the guys. Losses might be inevitable. I disagree. I think if you play well, you don't have to take losses. There's an invisible forest, like, right... Where was it? Over here? 2 tiles to the right. Over here? That's, like, a very important forest to have. Like... That's like the most... There's actually an invisible forest right here? What the fuck, dude? That's fucked up. I guess we can draw one in. There's a happy little tree right there. He's so happy. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. That's my old Hector hard mode. Stream overlay. Haven't done that one in a while, huh? Here's a happy little tree. Is this possibly bench Chris turn 1? I'm sure it is. It's gonna be really painful. It just means that you have to allocate your forces better, which I don't want to do. I think we can let's do a stroke eraser. Let's use a different colored pencil for these guys. Wait, what the hell? Why does Athena have an archer? It must be from the original screenshot. Congrats on finally getting the clear Excel. Yeah, thank you very much. It was very fun. It's fun enough that I'm trying to document the prologue to try to help more people through it. It could be Gordon. Oh yeah, that's true. That's funny. I think that Gordon and Athena got merged into some kind of like combined homunculus. If you don't have Athena, this gets rough. So yeah, then like this would be turn 2. The end of the test multiple choice or open-ended? The test at the end is I challenge you to play FE12 Lunatic Reverse and get it without dying. If you pass, then you live. If you don't, then you die in the game. But if you die in the game, you die in real life. Okay. Time to make peace with God. And then the play after this is just to pile on in a way that you can avoid attacks from this guy. So I think that's the important part. The goal here is the next goal is to we can make this transparent, can't we? Is there a way to make pictures semi-transparent? Glow, reflection, shadow, picture transparency, okay. All right. Try to attack in a way that... So usually what I would do here... Does it make it hard to see? Yeah, I think I was using it just to overlap some things. It does kind of... So I think the typical plan of action here is that we have Chris attack this guy to block the enemy. And then we try to kill things in a way that makes things convenient. So it would do something like this. We would have Chris attack here. That's my opinion on, unfortunately, only having weapon durability for combat arts. I think that's great. I think, honestly, like, weapon durability and economy management is important, but I think the individual, like, moving things around constantly is a little frustrating. But, I think it will only be interesting if the weapons, like, the repair costs were significant enough that you seriously consider... Maybe I don't use the weapon art because it's expensive, right? And I would think it will be important for the weapon art durability to actually be pretty low and use a lot of it. Yeah, so I think then the play here would be to attack with Chris to block this guy from moving around. Let's put that in. Can take from the clipboard and you attack here. Try to attack in a way that such that only Chris is being attacked by the highlighted barbarian. You think everyone just spams combat arts and maddening in 3 houses? Yeah, I think so, yeah. It's very important to me that in Fortune's Week the economy management matters. If it doesn't, then you just kind of do whatever, right? It doesn't matter. And I think that's not as interesting. And here, I think you just have to attack at your own discretion. But I think here we have more than enough firepower to just do things. We can just, like, kill this guy. Oh, I should have been showing my main screen. Athena can kill here, and we heal Athena. We got the dodge. Okay. We can just have Riss here. I think actually using perf weapons would be cool. Yeah, I think that is... That would be useful to have it just to... Wait, did I just get Merrick killed? I did. I fucked up. No, actually, he does survive this somehow. Never mind, we're fine. The Hunter here doesn't actually do that much damage. Why do we have to attack a Hunter at 2 range? Brain fart, mostly. So it should look something like this. Riss can always survive the Hunter attack. Ryan needs some defense, HP, speed level, so he may die. So that's an important thing to know, is that you can always survive the Hunter there with Riss. That's not the case in the other maps necessarily, but here it is true. What turn is it? Turn 3. I think the strat has an issue if Ryan didn't get any speed. And if Ryan doesn't have speed, you don't need to have Ryan here. You can have Ryan attack down here and put Merrick up here. Because here, it's usually not that big of a deal. I think like if the Hunter rolls fast, you just put Ryan in the back, and then you can block with your calves. So I can make a note of that. To survive. If Ryan doesn't survive the Hunter, just put him in the back and use Merrick in his spot or a Cav to block. Yeah, then after this is just cleanup, I think. Because you can usually attack and block for most of your guys here. Like Athena usually one rounds one rounds these guys and nearly one rounds the others. So I think something like this is you to kill this guy. But I think it's better to have Sita attack because otherwise she doesn't do anything. So I think here's the play. We can kill everyone and block the thief, I think. Like, at a certain point, you still do have to, like, do some ad hoc decision making. So, there's attack here with Athena. I think we just block the thief. We've been getting a lot of lucky dodges today, which is nice, but not great for the purpose of making a guide. Because then it's, you know... I don't know what to do. You can attack here. You feel like using Knight for this guide? I want to try something different. But also, like, most of the strats kind of are the same. I was hoping to try to demonstrate that. Yeah, I definitely messed up a little here. And someone might die. I think if we try to block this guy with Merrick... So Merrick doesn't die here, right? And we need to heal him, though. So we can kill this guy. Oh, we can body block the archer. Oh, this is too fancy. I think I'm making a strat that's too fancy. We go here, block, and then we body block the archer. No, I think that also doesn't work. We actually just kill here. So usually you can kill everything as... Oh, I didn't get it. Never mind. Okay, someone's dead. Yeah, but that's the idea, at least. Have I ever beaten this map without a casualty? Several times. It's usually, but it's usually okay to sacrifice a unit or two. I think I would also recommend feeding some XP to Merrick here. Alright, I think that's enough for the guide. Can't put everything in there. So I think the important thing here is to try to get a plus B level up with Merrick if possible, because that helps out a lot for Chapter 5 and also for other chapters. I also recommend conserving your heal staff a little bit, because I think if you run out of heal staff, like, it's very easy to run out of heal staff, which could be a big problem in upcoming maps. You get a new one later, but it's better to conserve it. Have the 25 fire tome ever run out for you? Actually, yes. There was one case where I nearly used all of it by the time I got to Katarina's map, and I had to not use Merrick to save his tome for the final bait. Which was... it was interesting. Mostly stressful. Alright. Is this going to be a video? I think so, yeah. I'll probably use the slides to discuss my overall strategy. Speed, please. Nice. I'll take a screenshot here. All right. So that's the play. Next up, we typically pick the Ogma map, right? Ogma is usually the better map and also easier because there is no mage. Because you get Ogma instead of Draug. There's not really any reason to ever go to the Draug map, unless you want to make things harder for yourself. So I will not make a strategy for it. So I think usually... you go no to go to Draug's map, the Ogma's map. So I think usually I bring these guys. I think I lost Roderick, so that's okay. Oh no. Night Chris can potentially solo. It's actually... you need a very good Night Chris to solo. I think it doesn't actually come up very often. I found that in most of my runs, I had to resort to using actual strategy, unfortunately. Which is not, like, ideal, but you do what you have to do. So for this app, you do need some vulneraries. I think you probably put them on Sita, I think. Oh, I think I messed up here. That's not... no, this is fine? Yeah, okay, so... You do something like this. You have Athena over here. And you start fighting this guy. I think I trade a steel sword onto Chris here. And I just start hitting this guy. Can't even use a steel sword? Oh shit, you're right. I didn't train my sword rank, huh? So typically for this map, you're going to want to have something like this. So the goal here is to move in a way that that blocks something. So Chris blocks top. Merrick fights Archer. And then Athena, Sita double block bottom while avoiding Archer range. And that's the reason why you have to do it like this. Because if you don't do it like that, then the Archer just kills you. That's basically it for this map, I think. Does female Crystal with different ranks? I think so, maybe. Female Crystal sword focus? That would make sense. I think after this, the map is basically done. I think the map is like basically done after this. Defeat enemies with your own discretion. The rest of this map is left as an exercise to the reader. I think pretty much there's not really like after this part, after we do this, get to this point, the map has been done basically. And I think we can go into detail about the exact steps, but I think the hard part is surviving turn 1, honestly. I will leave it as an exercise to the reader. So I think we unequip and heal Sita, and then we double heal. And then Merrick kills this guy. Oh, wow, we don't have any vulneraries. Holy shit. This is actually okay, because we can... Oh, this guy kills me, huh? Wait, I said... Like, I really don't have any vulneraries, huh? That's fucked up. I could trade a vulnerary here. Trade a vulnerary here and use it. And then... we unequip. And we trade a vulnerary here and use it. That's fucked up. But usually it's good enough if you have a high enough defense, Chris. Oh, I messed up. I didn't... Oh. I traded from Sita and that re-equipped her. Oh, that's fucked up. Oh my god. The trade re-equip shenanigans got me again. What the fuck? I'm trying to do a demonstration. And they just fucking kill me. There's no justice in this world. Classic. Classic. You kind of need... ideally, you have more vulneraries for Chris and everybody. And ideally, Chris also has more HP. And ideally, you know, you aren't in a situation like this. But what can you do? Sometimes life is shit and then you die. What can you do? You can have Merrick move up here instead, and that's probably better, honestly. I think unequipping Athena, Sita immediately is probably a better option. We can trade a Steel Lance on the Chris, and maybe that's useful. I think maybe you can also swap in Cecil to tank here, if needed. That might be a better idea, now that I think about it. Because Cecil can tank this guy. I think she takes exactly 1 hit. Wait, 23 damage, and we have 24 bulk? Nice. Yeah, this Merrick did get extra speed. So this one's a little better, but you can compensate for the lack of speed by having more vulneraries. Because if you do things correctly, you don't... Archer can't hit anybody except Merrick. So I think we just heal with a vulnerary. And we pass the vulnerary to Chris. And who unequips. And then we can have Sisso block here. Yeah, let's make a note. In a pinch, Cecil can replace Sita. I'm developing new strats here. And plus 1 HP survival with Cecil. I think she's basically guaranteed to survive. I think it's like 2 HP because there's -1 from weapon triangle. And then we can heal Sita and then heal her again to move her back in. So then Merrick kills this guy. Chris doesn't kill that guy because of the... Oh, 1 HP, okay. Oh, I think it's... Why? Oh, I don't think she has enough rank. No, wait. This guy is 23. Oh, 23, 24? But shouldn't I be... Oh, right. Axes don't get damaged from weapon rank, so you don't reduce damage by nullifying their weapon rank. And I think that's... you don't get as much. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't it be 22 damage because of weapon triangle advantage, or do I just not have enough rank for it? Wait. Does FE12 have variable weapon rank advantage? I think it might. So FE12 weapon rank is weapon level bonus. Huh? Wait, why is this guy doing 23? I thought I would at least get a -1 damage taken. So weapon triangle new mystery. Oh, is very... You need at least A rank to get reduced damage? Oh, that's fucked up. You only nullify the damage taken then. I see, okay. That is fucked up. Note. You don't actually get damage reduction until until A rank. And here we don't... All we do is nullify their advantage, but not necessarily their numbers. That's fucked up. Okay. Weapon triangle is nice versus swords? Yeah, I see. I see the problem. Okay, I think the play here is just to kill this guy. And we didn't kill him. Oops. I think you can heal again here. We have no vulneraries left, but it's fine. You move Cecil out of the way and move in Sita. Then we unequip to do less damage. They're moving around. That's all good. Kill this guy. Then we double heal on Chris. So, and I think we start doing damage here if needed. Here's the part where I messed up. I think I ran out of healing entirely. Yeah, oops. I think this is okay, because we can just kill this guy. And then this guy isn't as hard to block. Because he has... No, he's still kind of hard to block. But I think it's okay, because Chris actually doesn't need to heal right now. So we can probably block with Merrick or something. Something like we can kill this guy with Athena and then block with Merrick. This guy does 22 damage, and maybe Risk can block it? No, he can't. Like, we can actually just block with Merrick here, surprisingly enough. And that's actually just fine. I can try to progress some damage here, but I think it's better just to keep it going. Unless you get crit. If you get crit, you just die, obviously, but... There's no sense in planning for eventualities like that. And then I think we're going to heal Athena. I think Athena just kills. You can back up. Do we want to get Agum's full vulnerary? I don't think we have the time to do it. When he dies, we need to kill the other guy really fast. I think we just back up and then we block with Athena. And then we should be able to kill them all next round. I think I messed up. This is actually kind of scuffed, but I think it works. So this guy does 22 damage, and I have 10 defense. So I die to this guy. Can we heal with wrist to tank? I think so. We can heal to kill this guy. But this guy needs a bit more damage dealt. Yeah, you really need vulneraries for this map. I think at least like 5 or 6 is probably ideal. Otherwise things get really sketchy. Like so. We can always just sack a unit. Like we can just sack Cecil. He's not useful. Guess can Chris heal and kill? I think so, yeah, maybe. Nope. We are just barely off by 2 HP. We also just sack. We did get new vulnerary, but Chris still dies. I don't think anyone else can get to the thresholds without dying anyway. Yeah, even with a heal, we can't cover both situations. So I think here we just sack Cecil. We just sack Cecil here. I messed up. It keeps happening. I think if we do it like this, Cecil just dies because Cecil takes more damage. Yeah. Okay. Very good. All right. Note in video. Please see video for reference. Note in PowerPoint. Go yes to go to Kane's map. Do we lose Cecil's weapons? I think so, yeah, but it's fine. Oh, actually, that's probably pretty bad. We didn't trade them off. But I think it's okay because we do have we have both steel swords, which is the most important part, and we're not really lance heavy in this one. So something like that. Use a second steel lance for Sita. That's true. So I think here we have S map is usually so I think S map is usually not preferred because it's it's harder and the starting position is more precarious. 2 angles of attack. I haven't done the Night Chris solo in a while. So I think the play for this one is to, yeah. Like a Night Chris with sufficient speed defense can just solo this map. I think around like at least like 7 to 8 speed and then like 18 plus defense is usually enough with vulneraries. I think 17 or 18 plus is usually enough, but the other method, a more general strategy, would require something else. So I think the play here then would be to do something like this. You have this has been my go-to strat usually. We have a flyer and we have both of these guys. I bring both Myrmidons and make a wall here and have Sita block this upper area. So here's a more generally usable method in my opinion. Oh. So I think what I usually do is I have Sita on turn 1 occupy the fort. We have Merrick go over here to block. And then everyone else just shuffles around. So Sita goes to bait the archer. And then Merrick enemy phases and armor. I think Chris might actually be able to do that here just fine too, because Chris is fast. Usually, like, I think Chris can do it too. Chris might be preferable in this case, now that I think about it. But you can use Merrick, use anyone else. I think I'd like to conserve Merrick's home uses if possible. So we just want to do enough damage to kill this guy next turn if needed, as needed. I think we move like this. So I think here's usually what you do. Like, you enemy phase with Merrick or Chris on this armor. You occupy the fort to bait the archer. And then you move back down. So I think turn 2, that's what you do. You move Sita back down to dodge the archer, who has the range of like around this area. So he's over here on the fort. So he looks something like this. We have an archer over here on the fort. Have I ever done this map straight instead of Nightcrawler solo? Multiple times, actually. It's the more common method I was doing near the end of my runs, because having a strong enough Nightcrawler is actually surprisingly difficult. Then they move like this, and it should be usually okay. I think now we just need to keep moving Sita away. I think now Sita moves away to block here. And the reason we do it like this is that reinforcements on this turn. Reinforcements spawn soon. Archer blocks flyer reinforcement over here. That's very important that you block this flyer reinforcement with the archer. And then unit blocks cav from bottom. And then after that, it's usually pretty safe. So the play would be to kill this guy, probably with one of the Myrmidons. Start healing people. And we block this area. Archer bait with Merrick, and then we save the vulneraries to heal our guys there. It would be nice to have more Vones, if possible. So it'll be something like this. Let's keep going here, and then this is still turn 3. So Augment Athena should make a 2-tile wall here. Merrick goes here, like Merrick baits archer reinforcements. And that's the reason you move like this. So then it looks something like this, and all right, another screenshot. This ends up being a lot more complicated than I originally thought. And just because of the number of images, it's hard to make like a unified guide without going step by step here, honestly. Merrick fights Archer. And here, usually, Sita Sita can actually fight this archer safely because she can usually survive any one combat. And then usually after this, you should be safe enough. This is turn 4, right? This is turn 4, and yeah. So I think then the play here is just to keep walling. We kill this guy. I think we start healing Merrick. Use the fort if possible because our vulneraries are a little lacking at the moment, and we also don't have much healing on wrists. Conserving healing on wrists seems to be something I really need to do more often in prologues because I start running out around this time. But Kain does have another heal stat that you can get, but it requires some combat investment to get to there. Archer moves back down, and we just kind of shuffle around here if needed. We can kill this guy and start swapping some people in and out. I think we take a vulnerary to heal. And we trade here the vulnerary to heal. Then we heal Athena again. And just keep dancing around until we kill Kain, and then we can just start spamming heals. I think if Agama gets too hurt, you can kind of sub him out for Chris. As needed. Because Chris does tank very well. You can kind of keep dancing to get this archer out of the way. So I think I can just kill Kain now, right? We can kill this guy, and this guy does 19 damage, does 22 damage. If we kill this guy, we can just heal. And we can block with Merrick and Agama. Or we can also block with Athena. All right, that's usually enough then. There's another guy, but it's all good because we have enough healing now. Or maybe we don't. Go over here, go over here. Go over here. Yeah, we're good. Yeah, all is well in the world. We have done it. Kill this guy. Heal here. Kill this guy. Bait archer. We have one use in the fire tome left. I fucked up. Okay, but in theory, if you have enough fire tome left, the map is solved. All right. Finally finish your substitutes run by finishing Julius with Charlotte after you berserk Tail Shaman to bring Julius down to 1 HP. Yeah, that's a pretty good idea. It's not my original idea, as most things are not original, but all right. So okay, final map, and I think the most here, I think I should just probably be brief because I think the map is too long. I think making a detailed guide like this isn't very helpful. I can just highlight tricks, I guess. Yeah, last one for now, I think. I'll probably go back and do the other maps later without playing them, obviously, because I think most of the main story maps don't require such intricate details, honestly. So because like the prologue more specifically just needs like a fine touch, I guess. So the main tricks to think about is like Merrick over here. Like usually the strat is to like not fight below, like you just fight as you fight out in this area as much as possible. And I guess we can just highlight the area using this, right? I think that's the main important part. You just like fight in this area. Let me just draw it in. That doesn't look as good. Let's just use the screenshot, since I am artistically challenged. So I think usually generally the strategy, usually just try to fight the enemies without ever entering the red range up here until all reinforcements have been taken care of. I think typically speaking, putting Chris on this spot is pretty good, and then you want to usually hole up in the upper right area. So something like putting Knight Chris over here is usually good. But something like this, like Chris does well on the corner tile, and you can wall off with Myrmidons or others. So that's usually how I would do it. You don't get 2 male mercenaries, but I'm just gonna use them both as sprites here because it's easier that way. So something like this is usually a good plan. Important notes. Important notes. Need usually like Riss can tank 1 hand axe. And you want the hand axe user to attack from any tile except the one below Chris. This way you can bait thieves into attacking Chris for more damage. And then for late stage prologue, typically speaking, for late stage prologue, like after clearing every enemy but thieves and mages, like Merrick with +1 speed, 11 speed, can tank both 11 sword users. That's the most important part that I think is the biggest deciding factor. Otherwise, you had to use some like sacrifice strats, which I've had to do before. It's usually preferable not to. Is that the 11 sword icon? Oh, I think that's the one for awakening. Whatever. It's fine. So I think that the 11 sword thieves, their range is... It's these two guys, right? What class do I prefer? Knight is usually useful, but I think most of my strategy, if you do things properly, you can usually handle it with like Cav and most other classes, aside from like Mage and Archer, and are a little rough, honestly. Those are a little tough. Like that, there's 11 sword guy from this tile. So I think this tile is usually the important one. So I think that's pretty much it. Like, you can usually beat most of Prologue 8 pretty safely. The main things to consider are like if you play well, obviously, but things to consider are how do you survive the initial rush, which is fighting over here, and then how do you survive pushing into the final area, which is by baiting with Merrick typically, and then tanking all of them, and then defeating most of them, killing Katarina with Athena, and that's usually enough. Oh, you want to know to link to AI? So the West Hunter and West Axe are on one group. Yeah, I think we can note those enemy groups, because those are things that I do like. That does matter a lot. Ooh. Let's delete the other annotations first. So yeah, so there's West Hunter and West Steel Barb. This guy. There is the East Hunter and East Axe Steel Barb. And Vulnerary Barb, Hand Axe Barb, and Elfire Mage. So like these guys. So I remember both mages are also part of this group, right? I remember like you had to fight 2 mages, these 4 guys, right? Yeah, so like we have group A, group B, yeah. These groups. An enemy in these groups causes them all to move. Handle with care. I think usually the one on the right side is much easier to bait. Like, right group is easier to bait while dancing outside of range of the center guy. Left group requires defeating the barbarian and then backing off, typically. One good option to use Riss as a hand axe, guys. Yeah, that's pretty useful. Because I think the left group, usually what happens for the left group is after you clear out most of these enemies, like the left group is harder to bait because this hunter doesn't move in as far. And it's hard to fight him without also being in range of this guy. So typically speaking, like you want to bait out the right side first, and the left side you kill the axe guy, and then you back off, let the hunter hit somebody, so you can fight him without triggering this main group and being out of position. That's pretty much it, I think. Yeah, so yeah, that's we have made 47 slides for a prologue guide, generally speaking. This part is left as an exercise to the reader. I guess I do provide some information here too. All right, so yeah, that's pretty much it for the prologue. I think overall, kind of wish I made a better system for this, but I think this is like a pretty detailed enough guide for most prologue strats, right? So like just overall, chapter 1, just kill things. Prologue 2, you put Ryan on the fort. Prologue 3, you either go square formation for knights or T-block formation for most other situations like Cav. And you just try, you pile on the Myrmidon. There's another option that I haven't explored very much, which is going to like making this guy attack Roderick over here and then moving in the Cav on the upper end. This is very risky because there's like a 50-50 chance of this actually working. It just sometimes just doesn't work. Like Luke and Roderick can die here. For Prologue 4, you want to put Ryan on this tile to fight this archer, and then you block with Chris. You can swap in Sita if needed. And also you can block with Sita. The George variation, I think I'll put that in front because it's worse. I don't ever play it. So if Cav Chris is strong enough, they can just one round the barbarians. I think you will need like plus strength bonus for that. My Chris in this practice run is really weak. It's probably because I didn't get plus strength. Now that I think about it, 8 strength. Holy shit! This Chris is weak as fuck. Yeah, I think maybe you don't go plus HP. You go plus strength, I think. You think this is just Screwage? I guess it's Screwage, but it's partially because I guess plus 15 strength wouldn't make that percent strength wouldn't make that much of a difference, but yeah. So yeah, for chapter 5, prologue 5, I think there's like an invisible forest here, which is funny. So my method is to go like Sita over here, Ogum over here, and everyone else hides away. And then next turn you have this guy attacks Sita, this guy attacks Chris. Chris hits Archer, and then you have to try to attack in a way that only Chris is being attacked, which results in something like this. And then yeah, you just sweep. You hope Merrick gets level up. For the number 6, you block like this. Ideally, you have more vulneraries than I did. Like I think like at least 6 or 7 uses might actually be the ideal. Because otherwise, you need to do some stuff and maybe sacrifice people. And I think you can kill the archer on a Obsidian heal. I think this is pretty detailed at this point. I'm not sure if there's any other pertinent information to add. Yeah, I think this could well enough just be like a video for the prologue. Where I just go through the slides. Or maybe maybe another idea could also be just recording some prologue runs. Where I just do a straight shot of it. I'm tempted to just do one right now, but I think it's I've already kind of been doing it, so yeah, so that's the prologue of Fire Emblem 12. I was hoping to get through more of this, but I guess if I wanted to do the entire game in one stream, it would have taken I would only have 5 minutes to spend per chapter, of which I think I don't really like. The prologue more specifically requires very intricate strategies, whereas the rest of the game I think isn't as stringent. There's more like there's a couple of points of interest, and if you resolve those, the map is mostly done. So I think that's gonna be about it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out and helping with the production of this this PowerPoint presentation. Yeah, and that's probably gonna be about it for today. This is like a more experimental kind of stream, I guess. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and have a nice day, everyone. Bye.